Welcome to another episode of Wild Drawing. Today I want to discuss how it is facing both racism, ableism, and sexism as a woman with several disabilities and who's also mixed when it comes to the ethnicity. And I want to discuss that because it is important. And I want to say that no, I don't pity myself. I'm not feeling sorry for myself for saying these things I'm going to share. I'm just want to broaden the perspective about these topics. It's just that sometimes it feels like people treat some things as thought experiments that is other people's reality, and I will elaborate more on that now. I can't help but feel like many people who aren't affected by some things treat issues we have in a society as a thought experiment rather than realizing that it is a life you're talking about. For someone else, that is the reality. Like when we talk about abortion, we're talking about is there any exceptions? Like if you're pro-life, but I would rather say pro-forced birth, because that is what it is. It's not pro-life because you don't care about the host of the thing inside the fetus. So yeah, I'm pro-choice. You can click off now if that's not something you want to listen to. Anyway, in the arguments about abortion from pro-lifers, quote unquote, they say, would there be any exception if the person was raped, for example, or if there was any abuse, or if they live in poverty or are disabled? And they always treat it like it is a thought experiment that rarely happens. But it is not, because I'm both disabled. I can't care for a child even if I wanted one. And I was raped, and that was why I got an abortion. Because I was raped and forced to something, and my body can't really turn off its functions, right? I can't control my body's functions. I can't switch off the pregnancy function. It just happens. And people in debates always treat these things like they are thought experiments and not real people's problems and difficulties and struggles in life. And I want to normalize talking about these things on my channel. And I also want to say that if you have been there and have struggles like a disabled person or people facing racism or sexism, it's never your fault. And you, or abuse or anything, you're not responsible for the thought experiments of others. But I feel like I have to complain about this on my channel and normalize and raise acceptance and awareness about these things, because I think that's what it comes back to when it is my channel. I talk a lot about trauma, I talk a lot about spirituality, but healthy spirituality. And I want to normalize talking about these things as someone who has gone through it herself. Sometimes it feels like I'm just a wrong person because I have all the things that people can mock and like pick apart and be a-holes about. I'm both mixed when it comes to my heritage. I'm not able-bodied. I'm disabled. I have both physical and psychological disabilities. And I'm a woman who has a uterus, who has gone through truly horrific things and is in trauma therapy and everything. It feels like I'm the thought experiment that everyone is talking about when it comes to things like abortion and feminism and women's rights and every issue out there. It feels like I am the thought experiment, and I know I'm not the only one. So if you feel like you are another thought experiment, quote unquote, you're valid just the way you are, and people need to realize that we need to talk about these things as it happens for real people and not as something that is not, because we are many people on this earth and everyone will have an experience that is far away from yours, and you can't treat it like it's just a theoretical thing, just a funny thing to think about. What would happen? What would yeah, it feels like you need to realize that the thing you think is just something silly to discuss, to debate about, that thing can be something that someone else has experienced behind closed doors, that they're struggling with every day. And I also think that just because something is a minority, it doesn't make it less important. Like many people say and use the argument for abortion, for example, well, rape survivors, they are a minority, and that's a rarity, which is not, by the way. But we shouldn't base laws base laws upon that, because they are very few to begin with, or I don't know how they word it, but yes, we should make the laws to protect people, to protect the vulnerable. And yes, if there is any one person with uterus or anyone else that is raped, there should be a solution for that, which is abortion. Even if there is one person on this earth, it should be a solution for that. And that solution is not to force that person into something they haven't chosen for themselves. I know this video turned to a pro-choice video, and that wasn't my intention with this video. I just wanted to talk about the things that happens when we distance ourselves to other people too much, and they become, and they are not people anymore. They are just something to think about in a silly debate. Another thing I have thought about has been people that don't take politics seriously because they don't have to. I just ended a relationship, and our main problem was our values and our differences in our political views and in our values and moral our opinions in general, and things that are like moral things and such. And he said it's sad that we're breaking up because of silly politics, and that really catched me, because politics isn't silly for disabled and a disabled person and for someone with a mixed heritage. I can't afford to not care about politics because they affect me. I'm also LGBTQ plus, and voting on a party that is against abortion, that is against LGBTQ plus, that are against women and disabled people and people with mixed heritage, that is voting against me. And although my now ex, didn't vote for such a party, he was friends with people who did, and I just didn't condone that. I think the people who don't care about politics are the most privileged people in society, because they can afford to not care. People like myself that are part of several minority groups, we can't afford to not care about politics. It's just a fact. And something that I have thought about is that it's often men who thinks like this, who seem to have a very weak moral compass. And I don't know why. I don't want to like paint everyone with the same brush. That's not what I'm trying to do. But in my experience, it feels like men are the ones. There are women as well, but it feels like the more left-leaning people are mostly women, and people maybe that identify as women, and non-binary people, and trans people, trans men maybe. But I don't know, it feels like it's a man issue for some reason. I don't want it to be that way. It just feel like I can't trust men anymore, because everyone have these opinions that are just not aligning with my. And I think if it's something I'm very proud of my values and my moral compass, and I don't get why it is so hard to find friends and find a partner that is somewhat like me when it comes to that. I have felt so many times now, to even when it comes to friendships. Well, I think I'm going to end here. Yes, see you in my next video. Bye.